It's safe to say that Haas F1 have had a pretty turbulent history from the very beginning when they started out to the Rich Energy saga and then all the way through to Mazepin and obviously the past year where the tyres have been melted hotter than ice cream in a volcano, really. And at the moment, it just seems like Haas can't get out of their own way. And that's why I'm wondering, can Haas actually avoid repeating history, or are they just doomed to repeat it and end up in the same spot that they have been over the past few years? So let's look at the most recent history, the 2023 season. At the start of the season, they'd signed Nico Hulkenberg and Kevin Magnussen, looking like a really good pair to have, an experienced pair of hands. Some would say maybe a little bit, unambitious. But again, for me, I think with where Haas are at, the money that they would save by having these two instead of rookies who might make mistakes, a la Mick Schumacher, I think it was a shrewd move by Haas to bring these guys in. But the problem is despite the efforts of the drivers, they did finish dead last in the constructors and finished 16th and 19th respectively in the championship. And really, the only bright spots they had, other than a top 7 finish in one race, was all of the mega qualifying performances they put in, mostly Nico Hulkenberg doing that over the course of the year. And just like I touched on before, the car does have a major problem in the form of the fact that it heats its tyre up too well. It's ridiculous. Like, you can put in a good lap in qualifying, but then if they did 2 or 3 more laps on that tyre, the tyre would be gone and the performance just falls off a cliff. Haas literally can't seem to be able to engineer this car in a way where it preserves the tyres enough to keep them in a fight long enough to score some points by the end of a race. And to be fair, this isn't the first time they've had this problem. In the early days of K-Mag and Grosjean, they had this problem where basically the tyres would heat up exceptionally in qualifying on Saturday, but then when it came to the race, they would overheat so quickly that they would just fall to the back of the pack. And to be fair, being a rookie team back then, it was easy to excuse why that might happen, and it was easy to see that, a rookie team coming in, maybe not much experience of how an F1 car works, these things can happen, and maybe given a season or two, they'll get a full understanding of the car and they'll be able to fix it. But we're still in 2023 and we've got to the end of this season and they're still having similar problems now. Of course, the past couple of cars they've had in most recent memory have been some of the worst cars on the grid. Obviously, at the end of the last regulations, they were bottom last and they'd written off the entirety of the 2021 season just to try and make sure 2022 could go as strongly as possible. And to be fair to Gunther and Simone Resta, who are the heads of Haas and their technical prowess and the technical building of the car and the engineering side of things, they need to fix that issue as soon as possible if they're to have any chance of keeping a hold of the back of the pack, never mind being competitive in races. Because history has shown us that when Haas hit rock bottom, they really do crash through the bottom of the floor. They've had some pretty rough seasons overall, like I mentioned in 2021 and in other seasons as well, where the pace just wasn't there. And I'm worried that Haas are going to be doomed to repeat themselves for the foreseeable. And when you consider that 2026 with the new regulations isn't far away, if 2024 doesn't go that well for them, what's to say that they don't just write off 2025 like they did in 2021 and just say, we're not going to upgrade this car, we're just going to leave it as it is and not fight for anything and focus on 2026. But there's also the only issue that Haas have. Gene Haas came into the sport looking to try and, generate a new team, generate some American interest in the sport, and, he's not lied about the fact that he wants this team to be in F1 so that it generates more eyes on Haas as a brand and generates more sales for his bottom line. And to be fair, Gunther's said as much that that's the case, and Gene's confirmed those reports and have confirmed that it has actually helped Haas in their sales and helped them in the long run. But as we've known from Gene in the past, he is unhappy when Haas is just straddling at the back and not really fighting for places, and isn't happy just to see Haas do mediocre levels of racing and doesn't want them to be backmarkers. And with the current decline that we've seen from the start of the season to the end of this current season, if that trajectory keeps going, then they are going to keep being the backmarkers for the foreseeable future. And who's to say he doesn't get frustrated with that and then look to sell the team on? Well, there's maybe one thing that's a little bit different this time in comparison to maybe prior years. Having MoneyGram as a main sponsor is a huge deal for Haas this year. Whilst the performance hasn't necessarily been there on the track, they've had the funds to try and fix things through the year. And by all reports, it sounds like MoneyGram are pretty happy with the sponsorship that of Haas has brought attention to them and brought, again, a better bottom line, much like Gene Haas has wanted for his main company. And by having MoneyGram in, they've been able to bring in upgrades much later into the season, like they did in Austin. They wouldn't have been able to do that prior, and with the money MoneyGram brings them, or is able to afford them by the sponsorship, they're able to bring upgrade packages which they've not been able to do before. Generally, Haas would be done halfway, 2/3 into the season, and now they're able to upgrade much later. Granted, the upgrade package didn't actually do that much, but at least there's an ability there to be able to put something together to try and improve the standards of the car. And the other positive of it is that it stopped Gene Haas having to dip into his pocket, because it was very well publicized that basically all the funding for Haas F1 at a certain point, or from the very beginning, without sponsorship, was mainly coming from Gene. And with his money going in and then being back markers, I'm not surprised you'd be unhappy with that. If it was me and I was putting my own money into it, and we weren't even fighting for the next couple of places up, I would be just unhappy as well. But with MoneyGram coming in, that maybe stops Gene from selling the team so quickly. If it keeps going the way it is, he may be able to actually, hang on to the team a little bit longer and maybe make some changes, whether it's technical directors or, engineering teams or whatever. He might be able to actually do something and bring some more expertise in that he wasn't able to do before. And whilst the money that MoneyGram brings in is a great bonus for Haas to have, and maybe brings them up to the levels of funding that maybe they hadn't ever seen before, there is another issue that Haas need to solve, and that's the drivers. With the performances that they've had this season, it's obviously been frustrating for K-Mag and Nico to have to deal with that level of car and have to go out on a Saturday, put in a mega lap and get into the top 10 on multiple occasions, and then have nothing to show for it by the end of the race. And Hulkenberg said as much in an interview that he had at the end of the season, and I've linked below Autosport's article where he was talking about it, that basically the lack of the progress in the season was quite concerning. And the fact that he went into the original car package from the beginning of the season, and K-Mag was in the Austin upgrade for the Abu Dhabi qualifying, and Nico out-qualified the upgraded car by an absolute landslide, it's quite concerning, really. And if a better team comes in, anybody who's worth their salt or who has any sense will probably take an upgraded car, or even just one or two notches up in terms of teams when it comes to the likes of maybe Williams, maybe have a seat open in 2025 or someone like that. If someone like that comes in for Nico, or Audi come along, as is rumoured, he's going to take that seat. It's a little bit different for K-Mag because, again, he's not the biggest name. He doesn't necessarily bring in a lot of money to the team, but he obviously is loyal to Haas at this moment in time. And is there going to really be any interest in him after this 2024 season? Probably not. And it'll be interesting to see if Haas do want to keep him on, because I don't think they want a repeat of 2021 and half of the squad in 2022 where they have absolute rookies in the car covering the majority of the races. So it'll be interesting to see with K-Mag especially, because the reason I'm bringing up these drivers and obviously talking about the drivers and their issues is because if they're not careful, they could have a repeat of 2021 where they essentially have basically no experience in the paddock, and they have rookies coming in and having to do a job that really you'd want experienced hands doing in a lower team like Haas. Because you had the likes of Daniel Ricciardo, when his contract was getting terminated by McLaren, Haas were very open to say, look, there's a seat going spare here if you want it. We'll give it to you. And Ricciardo was like, no, I'm thanks, mate. I'll take a year off and come back later. And when experienced pros, I don't think are going to be wanting to line up to Haas unless they're absolutely desperate. Rookies, on the other hand, I think will be lining up to try and get into Haas's garage. It's just whether or not Haas can actually get a level of driver they're capable or think they're capable of getting, and we'll just have to wait and see. But again, when you look at the car's performance, you look at the driver situation, and then sort of the uncertainty of whether Gene Haas wants to keep this going for the foreseeable, it's hard to see how history won't repeat itself. But with that being said, there is the slight difference from 2021 and the year before in the fact that they've actually got a main title sponsor on the car now, who are willing to pump in money. And they've recently said in the past few weeks as well that they've been delighted with the first year results that this sponsorship has brought them. So maybe if they can fix this tire issue that they've got of heating up the tires, like I mentioned before, like an ice cream in a volcano, maybe history won't repeat itself and they can actually find some performance in the car and maybe give themselves a chance of not finishing rock bottom in 2024. Because I think if they can give Hulkenberg and K-Mag a decent car, they should at least be able to keep hold of one of those drivers, and then you can say, fair enough, we could maybe bring in a rookie and give someone another seat. Or maybe you go to Logan Sargent, who by that point will have a couple of seasons under his belt. He's an American driver, driving in an American team. The marketing sort of works for itself. But again, if it was me, I'd rather keep K-Mag and Hulkenberg unless you get like a really big free agent who might be on the market, like say a Bottas or a Perez or someone like that. I don't think they will. That's not what I'm saying is going to happen. But if someone came along and said, I'll drive for your team like that, you're going to bite the hand off. But we'll have to see. Haas are renowned for putting themselves into bad situations or struggling to get out of bad situations. So it's going to be an uphill battle if they're going to stop history repeating itself. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are Haas doomed to figure or linger in the bottom rungs of F1, or can they turn it around in 2024? As always, guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one. This has been Taking the Pits, and I'll see you soon.